Hi, Godzilla Medicine PS4, Medic Maniac YouTube, and obviously I'm on PS5 as well, and I'm on PS5 right now because this is Gran Turismo 7 on my PS5. I'm up at stupid o'clock because I couldn't sleep properly, so I was at a bit of a loose end, and I've been thinking about all things Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport lately, and the kind of experience that I want. And I'm finding that the experience I want in racing games is lacking, so I thought, what can I do with my time since I'm up and, I can get myself a nice cuppa, which I did. And then I thought I could talk about Gran Turismo, so here we are. So one of the first things I want to talk about with this game is the single player modes. And for me, the single player modes are not cutting it. Not at all. So when I think about a racing game, and I think about the experience that I want, Forza Motorsport didn't really deliver it, and Gran Turismo doesn't deliver it. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I go into World Circuits, because this is tied to the cafe, right? And then you go in from the cafe, you get your different things to do, and you come here to these events, and then you race these events and you get your credits or whatever it is, you get your minimal credits, and then you repeat. Now for me, there's not enough single player content here. There just simply aren't. What you get is you get a series of races dedicated to particular PP limits or particular cars or particular manufacturer groups, and what that means is most of your cars in your garage are not able to enter these events. So if you, like me, go away and you build a car, right, and you want to try it out, what you then have to do is you have to go into a circuit that you want. Let's say I want to go here, and then you have to go into custom race. So what happens in custom race is when you set up your custom event, you get to choose a series of parameters, right? And you think, well, what's wrong with that? Well, there's a few things wrong with this. So let's see if I can. Let's put it on professional difficulty, right? Because I would be playing it on professional difficulty because it's not really challenging, and we'll get to that. So let's put the lap. Let's take off the boost. Yep. Boost is off, and slipstream strength real, and you can alter your tyre wear or your mechanical damage, which I do sometimes to play around. The amount of cars on a grid, you could go grid start instead of rolling start if you want to try and create a proper feel, but it won't be a proper feel. So and then here's the problem. So for one lap, right, you can see the reward for winning. If we put it up to 20 laps, or 30 laps, or 50 laps, and the more laps you put in, it ends up decreasing the amount of reward you get. So that is not representative of one lap 50 times. Well, what do I mean? So if we go to one lap, so that would be 4,223, right? So 4,223 times by 50 does not equal what it said for 50, right? It just doesn't. So you're getting, every time you increase the amount of laps, you just get less. You end up getting less and less. So if you want a proper sort of a fairer reward, you won't be doing custom race. If you do custom race, what happens is you can position your car to start anywhere you want, right? You could start at the front, you could start halfway through the pack, or anywhere in between, or you could start bang last. It's up to you. But the problem I've got with that is that, like real racing, when your racers go to the track, they have practice sessions, they have warm-up sessions, they have qualifying. Now imagine that, a racing game, right, being representative of real racing, where you can choose in the options if you want practice, or if you want warm-ups, if you want qualifying. Because if you're enthusiastic about motorsport as much as I am, then you can, you know, let's imagine you've got a bunch of cars, you've got liveries on all of them, you've built them, you've tuned them all, and you get the AI to race them. And you're setting up, you're creating in your own little universe that you've created in Gran Turismo a race. You do a whole race day or a whole race weekend, and then you get into your qualifying and then you start the race. Maybe you've got mechanical damage on, maybe you've got pit stops on and tyre and fuel wear on, right? And you try and play out that fantasy world that you've built for your cars in your own home on your own console. What a magnificent experience that would be, right? If you added to that AI that was adaptive to your skill level, so when you put it to the hardest, it didn't slap you silly and make you weep by saying, you know, you're rubbish. But what it did do is it gave you incentive to be able to improve. AI that was aware of the proximity of not only your car, but other cars. AI that when you approach back markers, they actually reacted to you and they actually got out of your way if the way was clear for them. You know, that sort of stuff. And we don't have that. What we have here is a very generic, sort of by the numbers, really dumbed down experience of custom race that actually punishes you credit wise for wanting to enjoy more laps. I mean, who'd have thunk? You know, I don't know if you've done it, I've done it. I've gone to a track in Gran Turismo Sport or, you know, the Gran Turismo 7. I've gone in custom race and I've tried to make it a really authentic experience, but obviously I've just outlined that you can't. But I've put the laps up to, like, you know, 60 laps. I've done 60 laps at, you know, Interlagos or whatever it is with full damage on and all the, you know, times one fuel and tyre wear, so I have to pit stop and stuff. It wasn't a challenge for me, even on the hardest difficulty, but it was something that I want to do because that's the type of racing game that I want it to be. It's not. It never will be, because developers don't care, because you've got an Ethernet connected to your console behind, so hey, you know, give us some cash to play, to buy Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus and play against real people. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, gone are the days that you could set up a really great experience for yourself, you know, by yourself, which you should be able to do with a game like this. You know, it promises you can get all these cars, you can build them to your liking for each different class, you can tune them and paint them, you've got all these customizable options. It promises you that you can lose yourself in that world and you've got a lot of creative freedom to make the game what you want to make of it in your own room. And then, like, it's just a real shabby version of it. I'll get to the tuning and painting model later, but I just thought, you know, I'd try and convey and express what kind of racing game appeals to me, what kind of racing game I'd like to see. So I thought I'd start with custom race and the single player experience, because, you know, it's a very important intrinsic basic part of a game like this, where you've got a lot of cars that you can build and tune and paint to your liking. I mentioned it in my ranting video that I did the other day, but I think that the single player experience for me gives me a grounding of, you know, making a build for cars, trying builds out in different classes. So before, when I've taken my builds and stuff and I've expanded it into online, I get my ideas from the single player experience. So I find single player campaigns, to be essential. In Forza Motorsport, Just Devon regards it as a grind. In Gran Turismo 7, I would call it bare bones. It's a real pale shadow of what a single player experience should be. And if you want to appeal to, not only people who really want to immerse themselves and create a world in their own room of motorsport like me, but if you want to appeal to the younger ages who just like cars, then have them as options that you can turn on and turn off. I really want to talk about AI right now. I'm going to save this because I don't know how long I've been talking for and I only get 15 minutes.